this past weekend, the newest film in the How to Train Your Dragon franchise, which is actually a live-action remake of that first film, released into theaters. Today, I'm going to rank all 4 How to Train Your Dragon movies. Before I get started, please make sure to subscribe, like button, hit the bell, and comment down below. What are your opinions on the franchise? What's your favorite movie? What's your least favorite movie? Do you think it's a good franchise? For me, I think it's a good franchise. I think that original trilogy, all 4-star films, I mean, it's a 4-star franchise. Very good franchise. Not DreamWorks' best, because I think Shrek's a little bit better, but it still is a very, very good franchise. So, very excited to show you guys my ranking of the films. And with that said, my number 4, How to Train Your Dragon, the live-action remake. Now, to be clear, I did say the original trilogy was 4-star films. This is not super far behind, just because it is basically the same thing as the original movie. It is 3.5 stars, which isn't, like, awful. It's still good, but it's not near that level of the other ones, because it captures that magic of that original film. It captures the emotions, the cast, the awe of seeing these dragons, of the emotions between Toothless and Hiccup, that whole movie. It captures that, but the movie also, during the certain sequences that they decide to add on, also kind of work too. I think the stuff that they do add on enhances the experience of this movie. Astrid and Hiccup's relationship, I think, is best in this movie, probably out of any other movies but How to Train Your Dragon 3. It is just a fantastic relationship. A couple scenes were elevated. Mason Thames was incredible in this film as Hiccup, and he, I think, outdid the original voice actor in a couple scenes in this movie. So a lot of things that made this movie worthwhile, a lot of things that say, yeah, it was a good remake. I think that it affected me why I didn't love it, because, and in my review I explained this very confusingly. I even confused myself with what I was trying to say. I'm going to try to clear that up here, where it's a movie that I watched the first one for the first time 24 hours before seeing this remake. So we entered that third act and it's just kind of copy and paste, where the rest of the movie is really, like, it's really good. Even the third act is really good, but it's like I'm watching the exact same movie, just in live action form. And it makes no sense, because the stuff it elevates makes the original movie better, but it just feels like watching it. Okay, we got the giant dragon, which is awesome to see on the big screen, but we got the giant dragon, and he's going to crash to the ground and kill the giant dragon, and he's going to lose his leg, and we're going to go to that, and the whole world of Berk's going to have this, and it just feels like I'm just sitting there like, yeah, it goes through the motions. That specific last 20 minutes just felt like it was going through the motions, and I guess it's just doesn't fully capture that magic of that original movie. The original movie, I think the last 20 minutes were the weakest part of that movie. Well, you'll hear me talk about that here in a few minutes, where that movie was a little rushed. This movie, it feels like it's more drawn out version of that, which not particularly a great thing, because I feel like the first 20 minutes of that movie were the weakest part, and then they don't really elevate that here. So maybe that's just a problem I have with that original movie, or maybe it's just the fact that it just felt like I was going through the emotions. I still really enjoyed this movie for the most part. It's not a bad movie whatsoever. It's still 3.5 star movie, but I definitely think the original trilogy is better. In my 3 spot, now we're ranking the original trilogy, How to Train Your Dragon 3, The Hidden World. Now this movie takes everything from How to Train Your Dragon 2, kind of just takes parts from that movie. You get the big villain who has something he wants from Hiccup and all the dragons on Berk. You got some action sequences, you got the nice pacing, the nice flow, the nice dangers, the nice stakes in the movie. Takes all that from How to Train Your Dragon 2. And I'm not saying that is a bad thing, because How to Train Your Dragon 2, as you'll see later on, is also a great movie. So it takes all that and it's really good. We have another good villain here. I don't think he's near as good as a villain in How to Train Your Dragon 2, but he is good here. You got Toothless, and he's having this little bit of a romantic aspect. In fact, everybody in this movie is having a little bit of a romantic aspect. I think out of all the animated movies, Astrid and Hiccup's relationship here is the best out of any of those movies. Nice to see all these characters. But the big heavy hitter of this movie for me was the way it closed out the trilogy with just these fantastic, grand emotions. The character arcs of all of our human characters, of all of our dragon characters, are just close to fruition in a perfect way, and the final 5 minutes of this movie just made me tear up a little bit. So I feel like closing out the trilogy closed it out in a phenomenal way. I do feel like it's the weakest of the original 3 movies, though, mainly because the movie's titled The Hidden World, and it feels a little bit like a kind of a clickbait movie, because the hidden world sequence is beautiful. The animation in that sequence is beautiful. It's breathtaking, but you're in the hidden world with the dragons for 5 minutes. Now, I get the point is the dragon, like the people of Berk let the dragons go off to the hidden world. I get that point, but I wish we would have seen it more. It feels like a little bit of a clickbait there. Also, in the second movie, we had all these plot lines that kind of just closed out perfectly in the movie. In this one, I don't feel like they closed out perfectly. I feel like there was one or two little loose threads, one or two plot lines that could have been just shaved out of the film. So I still really like this movie. Obviously, this was a great franchise. It is a great conclusion to this franchise. But I think out of the original three, this one does have the most issues. The most tiny issues, but there's still issues. My number 2, we're going the original How to Train Your Dragon. Now, this is a hot take. A lot of people say the original is their favorite out of this franchise. Again, doesn't mean it's got anything less than How to Train Your Dragon 2. It's just a personal piece of preference. And tell me down your personal piece of preference down below in the comment section. How to Train Your Dragon is a great movie. This was the first time I watched it since I was a little kid, which I can't remember because I was like 6 years old. And I really did like this movie. Close to saying I loved it. I thought it was great. You got this character in Hiccup, insanely likable. It's kind of relatable to a lot of people. You know, he's just there. He's kind of the town loser. He just wants to get a girlfriend and fit in. And it's very relatable. Someone like me, someone like people I know. Very relatable character. And I think it really works. Also, he has the father issues, and those emotions with the father is really great. But the big heavy hitter here is the sense of awe you get in seeing these dragons. First sequence where Hiccup is with Toothless, your mouth is on the floor, you feel every movement, and I was just watching it on my TV here. Just a normal TV on the app Peacock. That's what I was watching it on. And I still felt this sense of awe, this sense of wonder, and every other sequence when you get that, it's great. You also feel the emotions, where Hiccup's sticking out his hand, and the dragon puts his head, or Toothless puts his head on his hand. You feel that emotion, and it is really great in this movie. And the big thing that I want to talk about here is the emotion. The emotions with Hiccup, the emotions with his father, the emotions heading into that third act are really, really good. The emotions seeing the dragon for the first time, really, really cool. The finale dragon is also a really, really cool beast. Seeing that in live action was really, really cool. So this was just a movie that's just telling a story that is really good. It's so different from the rest of the franchise, I think, because this is the movie where there's really no villain. Yeah, there's a big giant dragon. There's not really a villain in the movie. The villain of the movie, not really the villain, but the conflict of the movie is Hiccup and the people on Berk. The people on Berk don't like the dragons. Hiccup's trying to save the dragons. That's a conflict of the movie. And it just tells a story that needs to be told, and it's a very good story. Now, I definitely do think, and this kind of goes for every film in the original trilogy, that quite a bit of the stuff in this movie was a little rushed. Specifically, Astra and Hiccup's relationship, I think, could have had one or two more scenes before that first kiss. And then the finale, it kind of goes from stopping the dragon, oh, he's dead, oh, he's alive, oh, his leg hurts, end of movie. Just kind of like all that in 20 minutes. A little rushed to get into the hour and a half mark. It's the most rushed out of all these movies, and that's what holds it back for my number 1. But still, they're all 4 stars. If I rewatch the franchise, this whole list could switch up instantly. But my number 1, How to Train Your Dragon 2. This was the movie that takes all the likable characters, all those grand emotions from that first movie, and elevates them to a movie that has higher stakes, a fantastic villain in Draco Bloodfist, and just cooler dragons, a great story, and awesome action. This is everything I wanted from a How to Train Your Dragon sequel. From the very beginning of the movie, it just has such a different tone from that first movie, with also having the same lighthearted characters. This one is the darkest out of them all. There is death, there is stakes, but that's a thing why I like this movie so much, I think, because there's so much stakes. Draco Bloodfist, as soon as you hear his name, you're like, okay, that's an interesting character. Soon as you're on Berk and they hear your name, you can feel the tension rise. And the very first sequence he's at, he's a really, really good villain. And continuing the rest of the movie, he just has this aura, this presence around him that makes him a terrifying villain that I thought really worked. And with that brings the stakes. When Hiccup's father dies in this movie, it comes at a time where you finally feel victory for this family, and then defeat all of a sudden. And it just has these grand, complex emotions that makes you, that you feel. Toothless is awesome in this movie. As always, he's awesome in all of these movies. The big, ginormous dragon alphas are incredible, and I can't wait to see this movie in live action, because that in IMAX just is going to be breathtaking and stunning. So, a lot of things in this movie that just elevated above that first movie. Has the best action, the best story in my opinion, and the best stakes. It's just a movie that I loved. That's why it's my number one. Thank you guys for clicking on this video. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for a 28 years later coverage coming this weekend. We got the franchise ranking, we got the review, and then Elio comes out. I'm probably going to go check it out this next week. I'm not in a huge rush to see that movie just because I'm more excited to see 28 years later. But thank you guys for clicking on this video, and with that said, subscribe.